My name is Maitel Neta, and I'm an assistant professor of psychology here at UNL. We study individual differences in emotion processing, specifically in situations of uncertainty. There are lots of situations that we encounter where we don't really know if something is good or bad. I think a great example is, if you walk into a room and there are these two people kind of sitting and whispering to each other, and one of them sort of looks up and is laughing or smiling in your direction, you could think, oh, were they just talking about me? Or did somebody just notice that I walked in and happened to smile at me? And so what we study is basically what happens when you give something to somebody that's totally uncertain, it's ambiguous, and you ask them, is this positive or negative? What we see is that there are people who tend to think that it's negative, and there are other people who, looking at the exact same item, they think it's positive. And so we want to understand where that individual difference comes from. So we show people pictures of faces or scenes that are ambiguous. So for example, the surprised facial expression is unique in that it's the only facial expression that could be positive or negative. When people see surprised facial expressions and they don't have any kind of background or context, they could see it as something that is positive, like somebody, you got a surprise visit from a friend, or they could see it as something that's negative, like you're about to get hit by a car in the street. So there's a few different steps to the research. The first is just bringing people in, showing them these ambiguous images, but also some clear images like happy and angry faces that have a really clear meaning. And we ask them to evaluate each of the images as positive or negative, and by doing that we can get a sense for their bias to interpret the item as being positive or negative. And then the next step is that we bring them in for an MRI and monitor their brain responses as they're looking at these images. Really, the goal of this work is to look at how people's responses to uncertainty change over the lifespan. So one of the things we're going to be doing in this research is comparing young adults who have very different interpretations of uncertainty to older adults who we know have more positive interpretations to uncertainty. It has enormous consequences on many aspects of our lives, aspects of our social relationships, of our work, our productivity, even our health, right? Because if we're somebody who tends to approach the world and seeing these things as having really negative meaning, it can have all kinds of adverse outcomes for our mental and physical health.